guys, it's Maddie, and today we are finally going back to finish up my depression story. I've been putting this video off too long, so I decided to get it done and over with before I forget about it. Today, we will be discussing the light things that happened in my depression when things were at their very worst. We will also be discussing my recovery process and how I became normal again. Just as a disclaimer, I want to make sure that you guys know that I might have details wrong here because, well, this did happen to me 1 to 2 years ago, so I don't remember everything perfectly because, well, that and I try to forget this story. Let's start. So at this time, I'd been kind of separated from the rest of my group for about a week, and I was feeling really sad. I had nobody to talk to, I had no friends to play games or do anything with, and partner work became especially boring. So because of it, I started working on my own more. I started distancing myself from my family and my friends, to the point where I was so lonely that I was so desperate to make friends. But the problem was that all the kids in my school had basically found their clings ever since kindergarten, like myself, until I got basically kicked out of mine. It got to the point where after school, when we would go to pick up Tristan, I would be crying in the car. And then when I would go home, I would go straight up to my room and write in my diary. It got to the point where when I was at school, I expected her to yell at me at least once a day. I didn't feel safe, which is not okay when you're in a happy school environment. My friends, one by one, stopped talking to me as much. Even my other non-as-close friends, like Abby and Serenity. I didn't go up to them, I didn't try talking to them, and they didn't try talking back to me. It got to the point where I didn't even want to be around my friends. I felt like everybody I knew hated me and was hostile to me. Every day when I would go and sit at my lunch table, Katie would always take my seat, so I would always sit on the other side. This stopped me from communicating with anybody. It got to the point where I really started to hate Katie. And I'm not usually that kind of person. I never have a reason to just hate someone. I am usually say that I'm a kind person who rarely ever gets mad. But this was different. But not only did I hate Katie, I also started to really hate myself. I thought that this was all of my fault. The whole reason that this was happening to me was because I let her in the first place. And I gave in. I stopped talking to anybody, I sheltered myself and didn't do anything. I would sit at my lunch table as Katie would yell at me or boss me around, and I would just sit there and take it. I began to lose sight of my confidence. I lost sight of my happiness. But I started to get so sick of this treatment, so sick of the way that I'd been living, that I snapped. I got up in front of the table, slammed my lunchbox down on it, and stood up looking at everyone saying,
I'm done. I'm done putting up with this nonsense. I am done with the way that you've been treating me.
And I walked away. Now, I'll tell you, as I was walking away from that table, it was the most relieving feeling I've ever felt in my entire life. To finally have that chain be broken from all of that pain and suffering I had had to deal with. But then, we ran into another problem. Let's watch a quick clip from my first episode of my depression series. Something to know about my lunchroom is that we don't have many tables. Yet, out of some miracle, we managed to snag an entire table for just me and my friend. Yeah, so I couldn't find anywhere to sit. In my head, I was thinking, why are you so stupid? Why did you leave the table? There aren't any open tables around here for you. You're gonna have to go back and sit with your table. So I walked around the gym for quite a while trying to find a seat. And after a little bit of walking, I eventually found a table that was partially empty. A few of my old subscribers may recognize this music video that I did on Gotcha Life a few months ago, on the song Monsters. The song follows two girls who one is trying to convince the other girl not to kill herself because she's very suicidal. And at the end of this particular music video, I put a few names. Let's go take a look at them. That name is important, so pay attention. So, I went over and stood up in front of his table and asked,
Hey, do you mind if I join you? I just can't sit at my table anymore. I need somewhere to sit.
He opened his arms wide to me. And to be honest, in my opinion, if that boy hadn't let me sit with him, I don't think I would have made it. I sat and chatted with him and asked his name. His name was Travis. He asked me about my problems and the reason I couldn't sit at my table, and I told him everything. It was like lifting a weight off my shoulders, and he just sat there comforting me. I don't think I've ever met such a nice person when I needed them the most. I actually got to become really close with Travis over the next few days, and instead of sitting at my normal table, I sat with him, and we would talk about lots of different things. It was nice because not only was I getting away from the horrible hostility at my lunch table, but I also got to make a new friend in him, and me and him had more in common than I thought we did. And even better, I had a lot of classes with Travis, so me and him would start pairing up for like partner work, and we would do stuff during gym instead of me having to sit and do stuff by myself, which meant I actually had a friend again. I found out later that he was kind of disliked by some of the students in my grade, but I didn't care. It was nice to be happy again. And even more so, whenever I would have a fight with Katie, Travis would be right there to talk to me when I needed it, and that's something that nobody else was doing for me at the time. That was something that I desperately needed. So, on the last day of school, I was waiting out in the car line to be picked up by my mom when Katie came up to me. In my mind, I was thinking, uh-oh, Maddie, why hadn't you checked the surroundings before you walked out? So, I looked at her and said, "Get the away from me." No, I didn't say that. I'm much too shy to say that.
Hey, I'm sorry about everything that happened this year. Let's start fresh in 8th grade, yeah?
Those words that she spoke to me literally shocked my bones out of me. And true to her word, throughout 8th grade, we didn't pull up any of our past fights. We barely argued, and we got along pretty well. Well, that basically sums up my depression story. If you have your own, leave it down in the comments or make your own video. Make sure that your voice is heard so that others can benefit from it. I hope you guys benefited from my story and will learn not to make the same mistakes that I did. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Or whenever my schedule allows me to post again. Cue outro!
Your dreams come alive, you're unstoppable. Take a shot, chase the sun, find the beautiful. We will glow in the dark, turning dust to gold.